Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I think now it's okay. Weird. I connected everything okay. I don't know why. I just restarted it. Works now. It's quite irritating when you have to do all over again. Okay, so anyway, imagine Prabhupada was translating Bhagavad Gita and he translated everything, and his recorder and his typewriter and the papers, manuscript, everything was stolen. I think not recorded at the time, he was typewriting. So he was typewriting like this, one finger, one finger. He wrote the whole Bhagavad Gita manuscript. And then after that, his typewriter, his manuscript, everything was stolen. Imagine how frustrating that is compared to the audio not being on for a few minutes. But still, Prabhupada again wrote the whole thing again. So the kind of determination Prabhupada had to save us. So 104, text 104, সেই দুই শিষ্য করে সেবা সমর্পিল, রাজা সেবা হয় পুরীর আনন্দ বাড়িল. So we actually finished at 104. We are supposed to start at 105, but just for recapping, we are just reading the 104. So Mādhavendra Purī, in our last session we have read that Mādhavendra Purī introduced the deity worship of Gopal at Govardhan, and people from all over neighboring towns and villages, they all came and offered their offerings to the Lord. And Prabhupada was explaining in the purport how deity worship can solve the world's problems if everyone accepts the supremacy of the Lord and the ownership of the Lord. So there were two sannyasis who were attracted to his preaching, and then they came, he initiated them. That's what this verse is about, and after that it will continue. So reading on, these two were then initiated by Mādhavendra Purī, and he entrusted them with the daily service of the Lord. This service was performed continuously, and the worship of the deity became very gorgeous. Thus Mādhavendra Purī was very pleased. Purport. The six Goswamis and their followers started many temples, including the temples of Govinda, Gopinath, Madan Mohan, Radha Damodar, Shyam Sundar, Radha Raman, and Gokulananda. The disciples of the Goswamis were entrusted with the Seva Puja, deity worship of these temples. It was not that the disciples were family members of the original Goswamis. All the Goswamis were in the renounced order of life, and Jiva Goswami in particular was a lifelong brahmachari. At present, Sevaitas assume the title of Goswami on the basis of their being engaged as Sevaitas of the deities. The Sevaites who have inherited their position now assume proprietorship of the temples, and some of them are selling the deities' property as if it were their own. However, the temples did not originally belong to these Sevaites. So, so this is the corruption that's going on. Yet, we still go to those temples to, of course, offer our respects to the deities and to the Goswamis who established the deities. But the standards have degenerated quite a bit, and we should take note of this purport and be very careful on how our own temples are not degenerating. And usually the degeneration won't be very conspicuous immediately, but you see 500 years ago, 400 years ago, the Goswamis were there, and now it has reduced so much. So over time, if we are not careful, our temples also, ISKCON and ours included, may go down. So therefore we have to be extremely careful in maintaining the standards. And maintaining standards means, first of all, the instruction of the spiritual master. It should never become a hereditary thing, and it should not be occupied by corrupted individuals. So every one of us must work on their own sadhana and their own spiritual strength, and the society should be conducted based on the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. There will be issues, but it has all to be um, solved by following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. You see, here they are selling the deity's property as if it were their own. So, these things should not happen. এই মত বৎসর দুই করিল সেবন একদিন পুরী গোসাই দেখিল স্বপন. In this way, the deity worship in the temple was very gorgeously performed for 2 years. Then one day, Mādhavendra Purī had a dream. গোপাল কহে পুরী আমার তাপ নাহি যায়, মলয়জ চন্দন লেপ তবে সে জুড়ায়. In his dream, Madhavendra Puri saw Gopal, who said, "My bodily temperature still has not decreased. Please bring sandalwood from the Malaya province and smear the pulp over my body to cool me." Purport: the deity of Gopal had been buried within the jungle for many years, and although he was installed and was offered thousands of pots of water, he still felt very hot. He therefore asked Madhavendra Puri to bring sandalwood from the Malaya province. Sandalwood produced in Malaya is very popular. That province is situated on the western Ghat, and the hill Nilagiri is sometimes known as Malaya Hill. The word Malayaja is used to indicate the sandalwood produced in the Malaya province. Sometimes the word Malaya refers to the modern country of Malaysia. Formerly, this country also produced sandalwood, but now they have found it profitable to produce rubber trees. In fact, now it's palm trees. Although the Vedic culture was once prevalent in Malaysia, now all the inhabitants are Muslims. The Vedic culture is now lost in Malaysia, Java, and Indonesia. So this thing happened in the 1700s and 1800s. There was a violent takeover by the Muslims in this part of the world, and everything was gone. But you will find a lot of traces of our history here. Just a few days ago, I was going to our farm. Our farm in the Malaysia is called Malaya Giridham. So Malayagiri means the Malaya hill. So Dham. So it's about 80 kilometers from here. And as we were entering the town of Kota Tinggi, which is about where that farm is. It's off the town of Kota Tinggi. And as we were entering the town, there's this signboard. Not signboard, it's quite a big entrance of Kota Tinggi. So there it mentions in Malay, Barmulanya di Sini 1528. That means Barmulanya means it beginning from. It started. This place has been existing since the year 1528. 1528. Imagine, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world in 1534. So 6 years prior to, so while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in this world, that town started. I mean, it must have been an absolute village or some early settlements or something, forest area. But even now it's almost like a forest, just a little bit of a township there. I mean, imagine the first settlements would have started in 1528, and at that time it was all Vedic culture. Obviously, it was not as strong as what the Vedic culture was in India, but it was there nevertheless. And in 1700, 1800, that is the time when Indonesia and Malaysia, they were taken over by the Muslims, and almost this Vedic culture is almost completely gone. The names, though, still live by. The Garuda Airlines, the airlines of Indonesia, Garuda Airlines, even the Thailand Bangkok airport is called Swarnabhumi, means golden land. So that kind of Sanskrit and Vedic references are very, very distinctly visible in this part of the world. But here it is also said that Malayaja Chandan, that apparently there are two things here. The hills on the western Ghat, the Nilagiri hill. I have to check on the maps, Google Maps. Where is Nilagiri hill and what is it called now? We have to see that. Nilgiri Hills. Oh, Nilgiri. Oh, Nilgiri Hills. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it still goes by the same name, Nilgiri Hills. Okay, I actually don't exactly know where it is in India. Um, but so that was called Malaya Hill also. And then Malaya province. In fact, even the name of the language here, the original language here is called Malay, Malaya. But they don't call it Malaya, they call it Malay, Malay. So Malay. So, of course, the other language that resembles this is Malayalam, which is also has Malaya. So, so anyway, um, that is there. So the Lord came into the dream of Madhavendra Puri and asked him to bring Chandan from Malaya hill and rub on him. Now you may ask why the Lord would feel hot. Okay, it's certainly miraculous that he came in a dream, but why would he ask such things that you know hot like ordinary people, like why would he ask things like that, and how would that benefit people, and how can the Lord feel hot and all these things? So anyway, like Jagannath, he feels sick after the Snana Yatra and he becomes transcendently ill, and after that there is Rath Yatra. These are all to increase the service, increase the mood of separation, intensity of devotion of the devotees. He does these pastimes. मलयज आन जाया नीलाचल होइते अन्य होइते नहे तुमी चलह त्वरिते. Karnataka and Kerala, Nilgiri Bettas. Interesting. So that means the Malaya hill is actually Malayalam. Kerala. So there the language is Malayalam. So Malayaja Chandan means sandalwood. Yeah, even the Veerappan was there, no? In Karnataka forests. He was smuggling sandalwood. So he was killed later on. He was in my childhood. That was a big story. Veerappan, the great sandalwood smuggler. So yeah, I think the Nilgiri Hills. That's where it is. Okay, so that's interesting. So the Lord said, "Bring sandalwood pulp from Jagannath Puri. Kindly go quickly. Since no one else can do it, you must." Hmm. But that's interesting. Malayaja Chandan. Why would he go to Jagannath Puri? I don't know. So Nilgiri Hills are kind of Kerala, Karnataka. Anyway, he was sent to Jagannath Puri, and there also there is the whole pastime of Shir Chura Gopinath. So actually, that was the real thing. So it is seemingly, oh, I am hot and all this thing, I'm feeling hot. Actually, he wanted to increase the glories of Madhavendra Puri. Now, when he goes to Jagannath Puri, nearby Remuna, there is now even the Shirchora Gopinath temple you can see, and it is famous because of Madhavendra Puri. So Madhavendra Puri's glories were being broadcasted by the Lord in the guise of these requests of sandalwood and all that. At the same time, sandalwood also was given to the Lord and everything, but this is how it is. The Lord, as much as the devotee is always wanting to glorify the Lord wants to glorify his devotee. स्वप्न देखी पुरी गोसायर होइलो प्रेमावेश प्रभु आज्ञा पालिबारे गेला पूर्व देश. After having this dream, Madhavendra Puri Goswami became very glad due to ecstasy of love of Godhead, and in order to execute the command of the Lord, he started east toward Bengal. Now, this is a very good attitude of the devotee he's teaching us. Now, you may think, Madhavendra Puri was nicely preaching, and so many devotees were coming, and deity worship was gorgeous. You would think that, okay, if such a great preacher, pure devotee, right, he can preach all nice philosophy, so many people can benefit from his preaching. So why would the Lord distract him from that and then send him away somewhere in Jagannath Puri, where he has to start again from there? And then all these people at Govardhan, where will they go for guidance? 2 years only he was there. What will happen? And the Lord gave him a request that is not like preaching, it's just to bring some sandalwood and all of that. Like, it is a lesser service, seemingly. How come? How is it? But you see how Madhavendra Puri took it. He became very, okay, the command of the Lord I have to execute, whatever it is. That is service. Whatever the Lord says. Yes, the Lord likes preaching, right? The preacher is the most dear to the Lord. Then why, when he was preaching and everything, all the people were becoming devotees and everything was nicely going on, and then he sent him away to get some sandalwood? He could have sent somebody else to get sandalwood. Why Madhavendra Puri? In fact, the deity, the Lord told him, only you can do it, others cannot. So he was sent on a mission that is not very, like, seemingly not very high standard. For example, sandalwood anybody can bring, you would think, right? But preaching not everybody can do. So um, why not let him preach and ask him to send somebody else to bring the sandalwood? But the Lord has his own plans. So it may not immediately show up to us like what the plan of the Lord is. And we should not, when we are devotees, we should not demand the Lord to show us everything as we want to see it. In fact, that is the test of surrender. If the Lord asks you to do something, even if it like appears puzzling, my job is to just do it. So whether the Lord tells me directly or through his representatives, I have to carry out the order. Karishye vachanam tava. That should be our attitude. And then we will advance in our devotional service. So we should not distinguish, oh, this is something else, I don't like this service, I won't do it. No. Devotee means whatever service is given, we have to do. We have to take the order and then execute the order. Because it's not the service itself. The service, whether it's important or not. The more important thing is, all service is important. All service is absolute in the service of the Lord. But the more important thing is my own devotional advancement. Is it important to me or not? If it is, then I have to learn how to submit, and that is the discipline. So disciple means discipline. So discipline means I have to execute the order of the spiritual master, whether Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru. That's when I actually make progress. Otherwise, how will I make progress? The real project is not the Seva project. The Seva project, yes, is a project. But the real project is the devotees. Ourself. We're working on ourself is the project. We are the project, our own project. So how to develop ourselves? We may think that I will develop if I do this service and that service, and yes, we can do all the service. The opportunities will come. But more important than the talents that we have is the attitude that we have. So to develop our attitude is more important, because as the services increase, our attitude will be tested more than our talents. And as our responsibilities increase, we have to deal with devotees. Like in the beginning, here today, just a while ago, I was telling someone as well. So in the beginning, when we start off Krishna consciousness, our duty is to do the services that we are entrusted with. We have to do whatever needs to be done. Whatever we are told to do, we have to do. And that's discipline. That's how we train ourselves. And in one by one, in all the different branches, we learn how to serve. Cooking, deity worship, preaching, giving class, and book distribution, singing, instruments, playing the instruments in the kirtan, going for the house programs, traveling and preaching, assisting the senior devotees. So in this way, there are so many services, organizing festivals, and in the festivals, there are multiple departments of organization taking care of all of that. So these are all services that we engage in. As one becomes more and more senior, he will have to then manage. He cannot do the services directly because he has to guide the devotees who are doing the services. So he must expand the service by by engaging more and more people in Krishna's service. And his business now becomes to train those devotees who are doing the service. So, in a material organization, that is like you're climbing the corporate ladder, right? But in a spiritual organization, it's different. We have to become servant of the servant. So, the devotees who are doing the service, they are servants, and I have to serve the devotees who are doing the service. I am the servant of the servant. So, as one goes higher and higher in the responsible services in Krishna consciousness, he becomes the servant of 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 the servant. So, the more we become a higher position in Krishna consciousness, the more we are actually servants of the servants. Prabhupada even said, the world is filled with fifth class people, Chandal. So, that looks like, that sounds like very condescending way of addressing them, fifth class people, like not giving them enough dignity. Then Prabhupada said, I am a 10th class person. Because I am their servant. See how humble Prabhupada was. He is the leader of the greatest movement in Kali Yuga. The entire Kali Yuga is being purified just because of his presence. And such a stalwart Acharya, the most illustrious of all Acharyas, including Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka, Vishnu Swami, and even Bhaktivinoda Thakur, even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada outshone every one of them by the scale of his preaching. Unprecedented, the level of preaching that he has done, and he's still doing. And he is saying, I am a 10th class man, I am a servant of the 5th class man. So that is the attitude with which one becomes a leader. One has to be of the service mentality. So the right attitude is very important. So the right attitude means I have to do. I have to carry out the order. So how you see Mādhavendra Puri's example. He was asked to bring sandalwood. Oh, he was ecstatic. Oh, the Lord asked me to bring sandalwood, I will bring. Execute the command of the Lord. He started toward east, toward Bengal. सेवार निर्बंध लोक करिलो स्थापन आज्ञा मागी गौड़ देशे करिलो गमन. Before leaving, Mādhavendra Purī made all arrangements for regular deity worship, and he engaged different people in various duties. Then, taking up the order of Gopal, he started for Bengal. See, he was not irresponsible. He made sure the deity worship is going on very nicely. And then he left. Engaged many different people. He organized every one of them. Shantipura aila Advaita Acharya ghare Purir prema dekhi Acharya ananda antare. When Madhavendra Puri arrived at the house of Advaita Acharya in Shantipur, the Acharya became very pleased upon seeing the ecstatic love of Godhead manifest in Madhavendra Puri. So as you can see, Madhavendra Puri is the spiritual master of the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was like grand spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Advaita Acharya was there. So Advaita Acharya is much older. So he is the contemporary of Ishwar Puri. So Advaita Acharya was very young at the time. Madhavendra Puri arrived at the house of Advaita Acharya. Tar thai mantra loilo jatana kariya Chalila dakshine puri tare diksha diya. Advaita Acharya begged to be initiated by Madhavendra Puri. You see, after initiating him, Madhavendra Puri started going toward the south. See, Advaita Acharya, who is Mahavishnu himself and Sadashiva himself, he became initiated by Madhavendra Puri. That's why he is contemporary of Ishwar Puri. You see, the Lord, he as if some dream came and Chandan. But on the way, Advaita Acharya became disciple of Madhavendra Puri. So Advaita Acharya, who is the Lord himself, connected Madhavendra Puri with our Sampradaya. So he included Madhavendra Puri as our Acharya. And like that, the whole parampara became purified. And the whole, just like Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, they take birth before Krishna in order to become the parents of Krishna. So similarly, Madhavendra Puri came in order to become the spiritual master of Advaita Acharya and grand spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the Lord always has plans. We should just execute the order without thinking why the Lord gave me this, why cannot I do, why can't I do this. No, that's not our business. Whatever we are given, we just do. And in that, the plan of the Lord is executed. We have to always be confident that we will be an instrument in the plan of the Lord if we follow the orders of genuine devotees. Now, even if we may sometimes think, yeah, I don't know, I have confidence in the Lord and Prabhupada, but I don't know if I can completely trust the devotees because they are not as pure as Prabhupada, right? So, how can I trust? How do I know that this order is coming from Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhupada, or is it their own concoction? How can I be confident? So, as long as they are following the Acharya properly, their order we can take, we should take, and we should execute. And in that execution, we will become purified and we will become an instrument in the plan of the Lord. Purport. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that Advaita Acharya took initiation from Mādhavendra Purī, who was a sannyasi in the disciplic succession of the Madhva Sampradaya. According to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Shudra Kene Noy Jai Krishna Tattvavit dāsa Guru Hoy. A person may be a Brahmana, sannyasi, Shudra, or whatever, but if he is well conversant in the science of Krishna, he can become Guru. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 8.128. This statement is supported by Sri Mādhavendra Purī. According to the Pancharatra injunction, only a householder Brahmana can initiate, others cannot. When a person is initiated, it is assumed that he has become a Brahmana. Without being initiated by a proper Brahmana, one cannot be converted into a Brahmana. In other words, unless one is a Brahmana, he cannot make another a Brahmana. A Grihastha Brahmana partaking of the Varnashram Dharma institution can secure various types of paraphernalia to worship Lord Vishnu through his honest labor. Actually, people beg to be initiated by these householder Brahmanas just to become successful in the Varnashram institution or to become free from material desires. It is therefore necessary for a spiritual master in the Grihastha ashram to be a strict Vaishnava. A spiritual master from the sannyas order has very little opportunity to perform archana, deity worship, but when he accepts a spiritual master from the transcendental sannyasis, the principle of deity worship is not at all neglected. To implement this conclusion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us his opinion in the verse Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi, etc. Nyasi means sannyasi. This indicates that the Lord understood the weakness of society in its maintaining that only a Grihastha Brahmana should be a spiritual master. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indicated that it does not matter whether the spiritual master is a Grihastha, householder, a sannyasi, or even a Shudra. A spiritual master simply must be conversant in the essence of the Shastra. He must understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only then can one become a spiritual master. Diksha actually means initiating a disciple with transcendental knowledge by which he becomes freed from all material contamination. Very important point. So, how Vaishnavism is not by just social customs. It should be based on the principle. Social customs, traditions are not the benchmark of what is right and what is wrong. What is the benchmark? The benchmark is the principle. What is the principle? The principle is that the spiritual master must be completely conversant in the science of Krishna, and the disciple should be very eager, very thirsty for that knowledge, and very humble in his disposition in order to acquire that knowledge. If this is met, then of course the spiritual master is a pure devotee of Krishna, non-negotiable. So, and a complete master of his senses. So, if these conditions are met, then that is actually bona fide initiation. And it doesn't matter which varna or which ashram one comes from. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, Kiba Vipra Kibanyasi, no. Naham Vipro na Chanarapatir napi Vaishyo na Shudro. Naham Varne na Chagrihapatir no Vanastho Yatirva. Kintu prodyan nikhila paramananda purnamritabdhe gopi bhartu padakamalayor dasa dasa anudasa. I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, not a Vaishya or Shudra, nor am I a Brahmachari, householder, Vanaprastha or Sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance, and I am his servant of the servant of the servant. So, I am not any of these Varnashram designations. So, this is Sarvopadhi Vinirmuktam Tatparatvena Nirmalam Rishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhaktiruttama. Bhaktiruttama. So, that is real spiritual master. A spiritual master must be Krishna Tattvavit Jai Krishna Tattvavit Shai Guru Hoy. So now, social customs usually are taken as the benchmark, and this is the exact argument the ISKCON is also making. Oh, there has never been a history, a precedent where a spiritual master has already left his body and is still initiating. So this is not correct. This is apasampradaya. This is completely going against the principle. They are mistaking. The tradition is not principle. Tradition is not principle. Tradition is the way of doing things. Principle means that knowledge must be transferred. How is it transferred? That's a different thing. And how initiations are conducted, the details can be different. The principle is that knowledge is being transferred. Today we are distributing Prabhupada's books, and people are becoming devotees by Prabhupada's books. So, and of course guidance will be there of the Shiksha Gurus in the temple. In that way, as the movement was going on in Prabhupada's manifest presence, it can go on in the same exact way even now. There's nothing that is stopping that. So, in the case of other acharyas, the previous acharyas, the argument is, oh, then you can read Rupa Goswami's books and this book and that book. Yes, provided we will be handed the Rupa Goswami book directly, Sanskrit book of Rupa Goswami. Was it given to us? Whose book we got? Prabhupada's books. So Prabhupada is the one who is connecting us to Rupa Goswami. If not for Prabhupada, how would we even know Rupa Goswami? How would we know Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati? How would we know Bhaktivinoda Thakur? We will never know any of those acharyas. It's only because of Prabhupada we know. So Prabhupada is the current link. Current link does not mean the living person who is in front of me, whether he is an idiot or rascal, he is the Guru. No, that is not the meaning of current link. Current link means who is the one who is connecting us to this entire parampara. You may say the person, the brahmachari or the devotee who sold me the book, he is the one who connected me. Yeah, that is Vartma Pradarshaka Guru, who showed you the path. He may not be a self-realized soul, but the self-realized soul who is actually giving you the transcendental knowledge, due to whom you have actually come to know the entire parampara and Krishna and everything, the whole science, that person is the current link. This is the proper understanding of what current link is. No other definition is proper. This is the proper definition. So, the current link of the Sampradaya, he is the one who is connecting us to Krishna. So, he is the Guru. And there have been instances in the past where the Guru was not visible to the disciple and still the knowledge transfer happened without any hassle. Brahma did not see Lord Vishnu when he first heard the word tapa. So, he executed the order and eventually he saw the Lord. Same thing with Prahlad Maharaj. He did not see Narad Muni when he received all the teachings from him. But because he was in the womb of his mother, he was just hearing everything. But he did not see his Guru. But knowledge transfer happened. The main thing is hearing and how seriously he took it. So similarly, if we read Prabhupada's books and seriously take to it, what is stopping us from becoming devotees? What is stopping us? So, this is the proper understanding. So here, if we go back, you see, a spiritual master does not matter where he is coming from, a conversant with the science of Krishna. So, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. Always take the essence. Don't go with the fluff. Now, based on the essence, there may be a whole structure of society that has been that it can be made. For example, we have Prabhupada's books, right? all the principle of what is a Brahmana, what is a Kshatriya. In Bhagavad Gita, the qualifications of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra are given. Bhagavatam has the qualifications of Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. All these are given in the books. Now, based on that, a society has to be formed. It is not that we just read books and become pure devotees and go back to God. No. The whole society has to be organized according to the books. There has to be a Varnashram system. So there has to be Brahmanas, there has to be Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, there have to be. That's why Prabhupada started his preaching in the cities, which is Brahmanas, which they teach others and distribute books and preach to them. But also the Vaishyas, Shudras, these community also must be developed. The cow protection, the agriculture, these facets of the civilization also have to be developed. So based on the books, based on the principles, a whole society and a civilization and a whole structure can be developed. But eventually, by the course of time, what can happen is that people may lose the their understanding of the importance of the books. So eventually, the structures may remain, but the principles may be lost. Classic examples are the temples in India. Big structures, especially in South India, you'll see even bigger structures because they were not demolished. So you will find big temples, but hardly maintained. So this is a structure that was formed at a time when people were very Krishna conscious, and there was so many people to maintain such a big establishment. But now the soul has gone, the soul of the temple, I mean the mood, the bhava of service, the entire city being involved in the service, that is gone. Just the structure is remaining. Some rituals are going on just for namesake, something is going on, but not the knowledge transfer is not happening. The soul is left. Dead temples. Prabhupada called them dead temples. So that death will happen if we don't stick to principles and if we just stick to the structure and not the principle. Similarly, Varnashram is a structure based on the principle of qualification and merit. So, but if I keep to the structure and forget the principle and now make it a birth-based event, birth-based system, that is completely, we may call that a tradition. Oh, this is tradition, it has been following like this. Maybe it was a tradition that the father would have transferred the knowledge to the child and he becomes qualified, and then he transfers his child, he becomes qualified. Like that it was coming down. But if the knowledge transfer is not happening, just by being a son, it doesn't continue the parampara. In the Surya Vamsha, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, Imam Vivasvati Yogam, Proktavan Aham Avyayam, Vivasvan Manave Praha, Manur Ikshvakave Bravit. Now this is father to son to son. Vivasvan told his son, and his Vivasvat Manu told his son Ikshvaku. So it was father to son. But because it's father to son, it has to come father to son. No, that's not the principle. That is what incidentally happened. Because they were actually great disciple and became an actual great spiritual master, and imparted to their son, who was an actually great disciple, who later on actually became a great spiritual master. So they qualified themselves. Incidentally, they happen to be father and son. But if I stick to that tradition of father and son and not understand the principle that it has to be from a qualified spiritual master to a qualified disciple, doesn't matter who he is. If I do not understand the principle and go by the tradition, by the external optics, then I'm missing the point. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, to deal with to be faithful to the principles and not to the external optics of the traditions. Which is a very important point. You see, Diksha actually means initiating a disciple with transcendental knowledge. Nowadays, in Brahmanas, Smartha Brahmanas, the father will become, tell the Gayatri in the ear of the son, and then he becomes Upanayana, they have the sacred thread. It's nothing sacred about it. You have to be scared about it. Not sacred, scared. Instead of SACRED, it should be SCARED. You should be scared of such nonsense because it is Asurik Varnashram. Asurik Varnashram. Asura Varnashram. Daiva Varnashram means by qualification. Asura Varnashram means by hereditary. What? Hereditary. Heredity. Yeah. So we have to be very careful in understanding these principles and traditions. Traditions should be based on principles. Classic example again. in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna's point, okay, I've shown this before. See, 1.42, I think. Utsadyante. Okay, so Arjuna's argument in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 40th verse onwards, is that, see, Krishna, if we fight this war, all the men here will be killed, and each of these men are either fathers, brothers, um, um, sons, or husbands of women who are sitting at home. And once these men are killed, the women will be unprotected. And with that comes um, loosening of the women. The women will lose character eventually. Dushta. What is that? Um, Dushta. Strishu dushta suvarshneya. So if the stree becomes dushta, unchaste, and then there will be unwanted children without any sanskar, then what will happen? They will stop offering the pindas to their forefathers. Varna sankara karakai. There will be hopeless descendants of the families, uncultured, and such people will become will cause the ruination of the world. Utsadyante. What is utsadyante? Are devastated. What is devastated? Jati dharmaha, kula dharmaha, shashvataha. So these things are devastated. What is that? By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition. The point here is tradition. Because people want to follow tradition. Oh, this is tradition. Those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. You see? So, utsadyante. That's how the community and the world will be devastated by uncultured people because of a lack of men. Utsadyante, remember that word. Now, Krishna gives a superior argument. 324. Okay. Utsideyur, same thing in first person. उत्सीदेयुरिमे लोकान् न कुर्यां कर्म चेद अहं संकरस्य च कर्तास्याम् उपहन्याम इमाः प्रजाः. Okay. If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living entities, living beings. Now you see, what is the cause of ruination? Is it the absence of men, regardless of their merits and qualifications or disqualifications, or is it even a person as qualified as Krishna himself, if he did not do his duties, that would be the cause of ruination? Forget about the other men. I mean, who is anybody compared to Krishna? Krishna says, if I myself, even if I am present, if I did not do my prescribed duty, so what will happen? All these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population. So Utsideyur or Utsadyante is based on what? Our adherence to the duties. That is the benchmark, not that just being present. So tradition. Arjuna was talking about tradition. Oh, men should be there, otherwise, there will be women will go off track. Okay, what if the men are there and they are all uncultured? Okay, so what is the does that help? The future generations, will they be cultured just because there were some men? One second. So you see, that is the real. This is very important point to understand. So Arjuna, although he made a good point, moral point, materially, Krishna's point was far superior. You're talking about, you're concerned about the world being destroyed because of a lack of men. Krishna answered the real thing. If I don't do my duty, and he was in fact pointing to even Arjuna. Arjuna, if you don't do your duty as well, I am doing my duty. I don't have anything to do in this world, but I am doing my duty. Because if I don't, people will, I'll put the world to ruination. Varna Sankara. Sankara, what is that? Sankarasya cha kartasyam upahanyam. I will be the cause of Varna Sankara. How can Krishna be the cause of Varna Sankara? Because Varna Sankara means, oh, from a person who is not properly Brahmin or a Shudra, or the combinations different, like a man being a Shudra, a woman being a Brahmana, then the Pratiloma marriage, and then it become Varna Sankara. Yes, that is the traditional understanding. Yes, there is some merit to that. But more important than anything is our example, our conduct. Ultimately, that is the real deciding factor, not the just nomenclature. Oh, I'm coming from Brahmana family, so therefore I must marry a Brahmana, or I'm coming from Shudra family, I must marry Shudra. So that's not the thing. It's about whether we are following the spiritual um, way of life or not. So that is what determines. So Krishna's argument is far superior. So in this way, although Arjuna started off with a very moral way of argument in the first chapter, Krishna defeated all of his argument with far superior arguments, spiritual arguments. Hmm. So in this way, we have to understand we should always be concerned with the principle and not simply tradition, because tradition can get deviated, and the deviated version of the tradition we will think is the tradition, and then we'll say, oh, if somebody actually gave up the deviated tradition and if he came to the original tradition, this deviated tradition, people will think that, hey, he has deviated from the tradition. Yes, we have deviated from the deviated tradition to come back to the original tradition. Like for example, I came from Brahmana family. When I decided to become Krishna conscious and become a brahmachari, elders in my family were not happy. Hmm? So they said, "Oh, you're deviating. You're." I said, I was like, you people have deviated tremendously. Are we Brahmanas? Do we have a Bhagavad Gita in our home? Do we have any of the Vedas, Upanishads in our home? Did any of you study any of those? Brahmana means what? Working for somebody, for a job, for a salary. Is that Brahmana? Who has deviated from the tradition? You have deviated. I am deviating from this misdirected tradition to come to the proper tradition. So if you think that that is tradition, then you are mistaken. That is not the original tradition. So this can happen. So we have to always know what is tradition, what is deviated tradition, and what is actual principle. If we always are connected with the principle, it doesn't matter what people say. We will be then focused. Everybody should always. That's why Shastra should be the guiding principle in one's life, not simply family traditions. Shastra should be the guiding principle, because family, they may forget the Shastra and create their own traditions, and that may they will say is a tradition. It's not a tradition. So going back, রেমুনাতে কইল গোপীনাথ দর্শন তার রূপ দেখিয়া হইল বিহ্বল মন. Going south, Sri Madhavendra Puri visited Remuna, where Gopinath is situated. Upon seeing the beauty of the deity, Madhavendra Puri was overwhelmed. See, he went to Remuna. नृत्य गीत करी जग मोहने वसिला क्या क्या भोग लागे ब्राह्मणे पूछिला. In the corridor of the temple from which people generally viewed the deity, Madhavendra Puri chanted and danced. Then he sat down there and asked the Brahmana what kinds of foods they offered to the deity. So here you can see kya. Kya is Hindi. Kya kya bhog lage. So that is not Bengali. Ki is what in Bengali? Ki bhog lage. It should have been, or something like that. So kya bhog lage. So that means Madhavendra Puri he knew the Hindi. I think at that time it was called Hindavi, the language, and he spoke that in the local vernacular. In fact, it is Odia there. Yeah? But I think kya is definitely Hindavi. So anyway, he spoke like that. He asked what kind of foods are offered to the deity. सेवार सौष्ठव देखि आनंदित मने उत्तम भोग लागे एथा बुझि अनुमाने. From the excellence of the arrangements, Madhavendra Puri understood by deduction that only the best food was offered. जय छे इहा भोग लागे सकलई पुछिबो तय छे भियाने भोग गोपाले लगाइबो. Madhavendra Puri thought, I shall inquire from the priest what foods are offered to Gopinath, so that by making arrangements in our kitchen we can offer similar foods to Sri Gopal. So this is his um, intention. এই লাগি পুছিলেন ব্রাহ্মণের স্থানে ব্রাহ্মণ কহিল সব ভোগ বিবরণে. When the Brahmana priest was questioned about this matter, he explained in detail what kinds of foods were offered to the deity of Gopinath. संध्याय भोग लागे क्षीर अमृत संध्याय भोग लागे क्षीर अमृत केली नाम द्वादश अमृत पात्रे भरे अमृत समान. The Brahmana priest said, in the evening the deity is offered sweet rice in 12 earthen pots. Because the taste is as good as nectar, amrita, it is named Amrita Keli. If you go to Remuna, this Kshirchora Gopinath Mandir, still you can get the kheer, and in the same matka pots. And the taste is just out of this world. So delicious. And so, yes, Madhavendra Puri is asking about this, and that's how the whole name of the deity changed, because he was only called Gopinath, but now he's called Kshirchora Gopinath. So we will see now. गोपीनाथेर क्षीर बलि प्रसिद्ध नाम जार पृथ्वी थ्योइछ भोग कहा नहीं यार. This sweet rice is celebrated throughout the world as Gopinath Kshir. It is not offered anywhere else in the world. হেন কালে সেই ভোগ ঠাকুরে লাগিল শুনি পুরী গোসাই কিছু মনে বিচারিল. While Madhavendra Puri was talking with the Brahmana priest, the sweet rice was placed before the deity as an offering. Hearing this, Madhavendra Puri thought as follows. अयाचित क्षीर प्रसाद अल्प जदि पाए स्वाद जानी तो इच्छे क्षीर गोपाले लगाए. If without my asking a little sweet rice is given to me, I can then taste it and make a similar preparation to offer my Lord Gopal. এই ইচ্ছায় লজ্জা পায়া विष्णु स्मरण কইল হেন কালে ভোগ সরে আরতি বাজিল. Madhavendra Puri became greatly ashamed when he desired to taste the sweet rice, and he immediately began to think of Lord Vishnu. While he was thus thinking of Lord Vishnu, the offering was completed and the Arati ceremony began. So this is the method of aparadh shodhan. If we do any aparadh, we have to immediately remember Vishnu. Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu. Om apavitrah pavitro va sarvavastham gatopi va yah smaret pundarikaksham sa bahyabhyantara shuchihi. Om Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu. So this mantra is chanted, and also there are aparadh shodhan mantras, a series of mantras that are there. So to remember Vishnu is the only atonement if we commit any offense. So Madhavendra Puri immediately thought of Vishnu. How did I think of tasting the sweet rice? Although he was wanting to taste only for the service of Gopal at Govardhan, But he felt ashamed that, oh, I wanted to taste the sweet rice before the offering is finished, and he immediately thought of Vishnu to kind of atone for that. An arati ceremony began. आरती देखिया पुरी कोइलो नमस्कार बाहिरे आयला कारे किच्छु ना कहिलो आर बाहिरे आयला कारे किच्छु ना कहिलो आर. After the arati was finished, Madhavendra Puri offered his obeisances to the deity and then left the temple. He did not say anything anymore to anyone. अयाचित वृत्तिपुरी विरक्त उदास अयाचित पायले खाना नहे उपवास. Madhavendra Puri avoided begging. He was completely unattached and indifferent to material things. If without his begging someone offered him some food, he would eat. Otherwise, he would fast. Purport. This is the Paramahamsa stage, the highest stage for a sannyasi. A sannyasi can beg from door to door just to collect food, but a Paramahamsa who has taken Ayachita Vritti or Ajagar Vritti does not ask anyone for food. If someone offers him food voluntarily, he eats. Ayachit Vritti means being accustomed to refrain from begging, and Ajagar Vritti indicates one who is compared to a python, the big snake that makes no effort to acquire food but rather allows food to come automatically within its mouth. In other words, the Paramahamsa simply engages exclusively in the service of the Lord without caring even for eating or sleeping. It was stated about the six Goswamis, Nidra Hara Vihara Kadi Vijitao. In the Paramahamsa stage, one conquers the desire for sleep, food, and sense gratification. One remains a humble, meek mendicant engaged in the service of the Lord day and night. Madhavendra Puri had attained this Paramahamsa stage. This is not very easy to do at all. If people don't give, you don't eat. How to? People are not ready for this. So this is a very, very high stage. Even in sannyas, the first is Kutichak. Kutichak sannyas. 4 stages of sannyas. Kutichak sannyas, he will have his own bhajan kutir a little outside the town from which he hails from. And then he sits down there and does his bhajan. So people who know him from the town, they know that okay, this person has become a sannyasi. He is having his kutir outside the town. So every now and then they will come and give something to the sannyasi, and he will cook from there. So basically, he is kind of depending on his previous friend circle or whatever people know him. So he's depending on them for kind of sustenance. He has renounced, but progressive renunciation. Even that sannyasi also, he has to rise, in his faith in Krishna. Of course, he has to have complete faith in Krishna, but not everybody starts off there, right? But he has the inclination that I want to dedicate my life to Krishna's service. So he does this. Now, second is Bahudaka or Madhukari, where he leaves the kutir and travels and then begs. Whatever he gets, he gets. If he doesn't get, that's it. But he begs little bit and little bit from each. It's not that he takes a lot from one person. Then he becomes dependent on that person. He becomes materially attached to that person, and then he may not be able to fully preach to that person, because when you are dependent on someone like Bhishma Dev, he was eating the food provided by Duryodhan. He could not go against him. So otherwise, you will be called Namak Haram, Namak Harami. So you have eaten the food, and then now you are going against him. So usually when somebody eats like that, maintained by someone, he will have some gratitude and he will not go against him. So if a sannyasi is like that, if this person is giving me food, how can I say strong instructions to him, call him rascal or chastise him for anything? He's kind to me. How can I be cruel to him? Material attachment will start. He will not think spiritually. Straightforward, if you say something, because a sannyasi should not fear being rejected or fear being not accepted. He should not. He should be very straightforward, and he should not depend on anyone. If he takes every time different persons a little bit, then he's not dependent on anyone in particular. So he can be straightforward. That is Madhukari, second stage of sannyas. Then becomes Parivrajagacharya. Then he becomes very, very fixed up in his sannyas, and now he travels and preaches and accepts disciples, and he increases the preaching mission greatly. engages his disciples in various kinds of services, and deity worship, preaching, all these kind of, establishes many temples, travels far and wide and preaches. This is called Parivrajaka Acharya. And finally, he shuts himself up when he hands over the whole preaching mission to his disciples and is everything running smoothly. Then he will shut himself up with complete uninterrupted meditation on the Supreme Lord, and he may eat whenever food may come to him. Otherwise, he will not eat. He'll just be complete like Avadhut, Paramahamsa stage. That is highest sannyasi. So in this way, so Madhavendra Puri was in the highest stage of Paramahamsa. That's why every time we, in the Jayadhvani, Premadhvani prayers, after the Kirtan, we say, Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. So he is actually Jai Om Vishnupada, that means he is at the lotus feet of Vishnu. Paramahamsa, he is a Paramahamsa. Then we say Parivrajagacharya. So which of these is he? So he is actually of the stage of Paramahamsa, but for our benefit, he came down to the platform of Parivrajagacharya to extend mercy to us. Otherwise, he personally is in the Paramahamsa stage. So sometimes to carry out the order of the Lord, the Paramahamsa devotee may come down to Parivrajagacharya level in order to preach and help others. So is the Paramahamsa devotee not helping others? No, it's not like that. He is always serving the Lord. He's always serving the Lord in he's in ecstatic devotion. Now, if the Lord inspires him to preach widely, Krishna Shakti, Vina Nahetar Pravartan, if Krishna empowers him, okay, now you go and preach, he will carry out the order of the Lord. If he was not ordered, then he will maybe, he'll just be there in the Paramahamsa stage. But if he's ordered, especially by the Lord, to preach, he will preach. He will preach. So for that, he has to come down to Parivrajagacharya level. Although he's consciousness in the Paramahamsa level, he externally acts on the Parivrajagacharya level in order to benefit everyone. So Prabhupada is like that. All our acharyas are like that. Who preached, they're all Paramahamsas, but came down to the Parivrajagacharya level. Ramanujacharya also accepted Yamunacharya's after Yamunacharya's departure. Yes. Here it is said, even Ramana originated from Ramaniya, meaning beautiful. Oh, that's interesting. प्रेमामृते तृप्त क्षुधा तृष्णा नाही बाधे क्षीर इच्छा होइलो ताहे माने अपराधे. A Paramahamsa like Madhavendra Puri is always satisfied in the loving service of the Lord. Material hunger and thirst cannot impede his activities. When he desired to taste the little sweet rice offered to the deity, he considered that he had committed an offense by desiring to eat what was being offered to the deity. Purport. It is advisable that food being offered to the deity be covered when taken from the kitchen to the deity room. In that way, others may not see it. Those who are not accustomed to following the advanced regulative devotional principles may desire to eat the food, and that is an offense. Therefore, no one should be given a chance to even see it. However, when it is brought before the deity, it must be uncovered. Seeing the food uncovered before the deity, Madhavendra Puri desired to taste a little of it so that he could prepare a similar sweet rice for his Gopal. Madhavendra Puri was so strict, however, that he considered this to be an offense. Consequently, he left the temple without saying anything to anyone. The Paramahamsa is therefore called Vijita Shadguna. He must conquer the 6 material qualities, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, and Kshuddha Trishna, lust, anger, greed, illusion, enviousness, and hunger and thirst. So similar thing we can see in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's life. When he was just like a 3-year-old boy, he ate a mango that was meant for the Giridhari deity of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur chastised the 3-year-old boy. Hey, why did you eat the mango? It was supposed to be meant for Giridhari. Without offering him, we should not take anything. So, of course, he did not chastise him very severely because he said, because he's a 3-year-old boy. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur took it so seriously that in entire life he did not eat mango again. Mango is the king of fruits, and Indian mango It's the sweetest thing, sweetest fruit, the king of all fruits for a reason. And he considered himself aparadhi. Even when he was a spiritual master of so many disciples and so many temples he has established, even at that time, when he was offered a mango, he said, uh, when he was asked to eat the mango, he said, "No, I can't eat." Why? I am aparadhi. Because when what he did at 3 years old. So for the whole life, he did not eat mango. Look at it. Oh, I have eaten fruit meant for Krishna. See, Madhavendra Purī, we can see the similar thing. Of course, he did not maintain a lifelong vow, I think. But um, you see, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Madhavendra Puri, this is the standard. They are so strict with themselves. They may be liberal with others. With others, they may be liberal. Okay, you. For those who can take the instruction, those who are more submissive, with them they will be a little bit stricter, so that to make them advance even more. But for those who are not so close, they may be a little liberal. But with themselves, they're extremely strict. Extremely strict. So Prabhupada also taught us this principle of being strict with oneself and liberal with others. And even the people who are close, serious devotees, being strict is good. That does not mean we are favoring the people who are far away and then um, um, chastising those who are near us. That's not the point. Chastisement means mercy, right? Chastisement means mercy. नूनं त्वकृत पुण्यास्ते भृत्याये श्रीश्वराः शुभे कृतागः स्वात्मसात् कृत्वा शिक्षादण्डं न युञ्जते. King Puranjan said, "My dear beautiful wife, when a master accepts a servant as his own man, but does not punish him for his offenses, the servant must be considered unfortunate." So it's not that, oh, I have served him as a servant, but he is punishing me. And he's not punishing that person who did not surrender to him as a servant. He's more kind to him than me. That is wrong understanding. A servant who is not punished by his master for his offense is unfortunate. Then next, that is 426:21. Now 426:22. Paramonugraho dando. Parama anugraha is danda. Bhrityeshu prabhunarpitah balo naveda tattanvi bandhu krityam amarshana. Balo naveda tattanvi. My dear slender maiden, when a master chastises his servant, the servant should accept this as great mercy. One who becomes angry must be very foolish not to know that such is the duty of his friend. See? So, this is what we need to develop as disciples, as people who are interested. If we are interested in our spiritual growth, we should be willing to be chastised, willing to be corrected. We have to live to be corrected. That's how our mood, our disposition should be, that I will live to be corrected. This is what I think. This is Niti Shastra, is it? लालने बहवो दोषस् तदने बहवो ताडने बहवो गुण तस्मात् पुत्रं च शिष्यं च ताडयेत् न तु लालयेत्. So if we praise the son or the disciple, then it will increase dosha, increase faults in the disciple or son. If he is chastised, his faults and faults will be reduced. So therefore, one should chastise and not pamper. Lalayat. Very nice verse. Let's note down that. So these are the things. Is that verse there in this? Lalane Bahavo Doshas. lalane bahavo doshas, tadane bahavo guna. And if you chastise, there are so many good qualities. Tasmat putram cha shishyam cha tadayen natu lalaya. This is in the, you see, tasmat shishyam cha putram cha tadayat natu lalayat. Lalane bahavo doshas, tadane bahavo guna. So this is the instruction. গ্রামের শূন্য হাটে বসে করেন কীর্তন এথা পূজারি করাইল ঠাকুরে শয়ন. Madhavendra Purī left the temple and sat down in the village marketplace, which was vacant. Sitting there, he began to chant. In the meantime, the temple priest laid the deity down to rest. Purport. Although Madhavendra Purī was not interested in eating and sleeping, his interest in chanting the Mahamantra was as acute as if he were an aspiring transcendentalist rather than a Paramahamsa. This means that even in the Paramahamsa stage, one cannot give up chanting. This should be copy pasted and sent to Jayapataka Maharaj. Once Jayapataka Maharaj, one of the ISKCON gurus, because he doesn't chant. Even when he was all right, he did not chant. He came to Singapore, he did not chant. He does not chant at all. Hardly. Then some devotees complained. And the disciple asked Jayapataka Swami, Maharaj, some people are saying that they don't see you chanting. What should I tell them? He said, what did you tell them? No, I don't know actually what to say. So I'm asking you. He said, you tell them that, I have reached a stage where I don't need to chant. Here, you copy paste this one and send him. That even Paramahamsa stage, one cannot give up chanting. So, Namagana, what is that? Namagane Sadaruchi. That is one of the symptom of a pure devotee. He can give up material things, but how can he give up spiritual things? So he was, and you see how he's chanting. His interest in chanting the Mahamantra was as acute as if he were an aspiring transcendentalist rather than a Paramahamsa. It means I'm not perfect, I need to chant properly. In that mood, he was chanting. Please save me, Krishna. This means that even in the Paramahamsa stage, one cannot give up chanting. Haridas Thakur and the Goswamis were all engaged in chanting a fixed number of rounds. Therefore, chanting on beads is very important for everyone, even though one may become a Paramahamsa. This chanting can be executed anywhere, either inside or outside the temple. Mādhavendra Purī even sat down in a vacant marketplace to perform his chanting. As stated by Srinivas Acharya in his prayers to the Goswamis, Nama Gana Natibhi. A Paramahamsa devotee is always engaged in chanting and rendering loving service to the Lord. Chanting the Lord's holy names and engaging in his service are identical. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23, there are 9 kinds of devotional service: hearing Shravanam, chanting Kirtanam, remembering Vishnu Smaranam, serving Pada Sevanam, worship of the deity Archanam, praying Vandanam, carrying out orders Dasyam, serving him as a friend Sakhyam, and sacrificing everything for the Lord Atmanivedanam. Although each process appears distinct, when one is situated on the absolute platform, he can see that they are identical. For instance, hearing is as good as chanting, and remembering is as good as chanting or hearing. Similarly, engaging in deity worship is as good as chanting, hearing, or remembering. The devotee is expected to accept all 9 processes of devotional service, but even if only one process is properly executed, he can still attain the highest position, Paramahamsa, and go back home, back to Godhead. But you see, generally, devotees have to accept all the 9 processes, especially the 7 processes. The last 2, surrendering everything, is a very high standard, and Sakhyam is also very high standard. But at least we have to be Sakhyam, or friend of the Lord, in representing him properly when we preach, not distort his teachings. If I distort Krishna's teachings, I'm not representing him properly. I'm not his friend. I'm being inimical to him. We have to be friendly to Krishna. That means we have to represent him properly. Eventually, Atmanivedanam will come. But we have to accept all these processes, all 9 processes. The devotee is expected to accept all 9 processes of devotional service. It's important. Madhya 4.125. Because sometimes it is said, this verse is there. Um, Not this one, no? What is that? 83. Is it this one? By Krishna Nam? No. Chanting 471. Where it is said, by chanting all other devotional service is automatically done. Just by chanting. What is that verse? Adi 470, Antya 471? Is it? No. Okay. By chanting, all other processes are automatically done. What is that? 1507, 106. Every time Prabhu quotes this. How come I forgot completely? 15107, is it? See, I was thinking it was 15107. Yes. एक कृष्ण नाम करे सर्व पाप क्षय नव विधा भक्ति पूर्ण नाम होते होय. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna once, a person is relieved from from all the reactions of a sinful life. One can complete the 9 processes of devotional service simply by chanting the holy name. So you see, this is mentioned here, but if you see the other one, here he's saying the devotee is expected to accept all 9 processes of devotional service. But even if only one process is properly executed, he can still attain the highest perfection, highest position, and go back home back to God. But properly executed, like Haridas Thakur level of execution, if I do chanting, then yes, I can say I have properly executed. But if I am not doing at that level, then I have to accept everything, because anyway I can't engage myself in chanting the entire day. So I can chant for a while, I can read for a while, I can do some service for a while, and different services, various services I have to be engaged in, because we are restless. So we cannot do all at once, or one thing. We cannot focus on one thing all the time. So our restless nature can be engaged in Krishna's service, so that Krishnarthe Akhila Cheshta. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, Krishnarthe Akhila Cheshta. Madhya 22.126. Krishnarthe Akhila Cheshta Tatkripavalokanā Janmadinadi Mahotsava Laya Bhaktagan. One should perform all endeavors for Krishna. One should look forward to his mercy. One should partake of various ceremonies with the devotees, ceremonies like Krishna's birthday or Ramchandra's birthday. So in this way, we have to engage in all kinds of services. So going on. निज कृत्य करे पूजारे करिलो शयन स्वपने ठाकुर आसी बोलिला वचन. Finishing his daily duties, the priest went to take rest. In a dream, he saw the Gopinath deity come to talk to him and he spoke as follows. उठो पुजारी करो द्वार विमोचन क्षीर एक राखी अच्छी सन्यासी कारण. O priest, please get up and open the door of the temple. I have kept one pot of sweet rice for the sannyasi Madhavendra Purī. धड़ार अंचले ढाका एक क्षीर होय तुम তোমরা না জানিলা তাহা আমার মায়ায়. This pot of sweet rice is just behind my cloth curtain. You did not see it because of my tricks. माधवपुरी सन्यासी आछे हाटेते वसिया ताहा केट ei क्षीर शीघ्र देह लइया. A sannyasi named Madhavendra Puri is sitting in the vacant marketplace. Please take this pot of sweet rice from behind me and deliver it to him. स्वप्न देखी पुजारी उठे करेला विचार स्नान करे कपाट खुले मुक्त कइलो द्वार. Awaking from the dream, the priest immediately rose from bed and thought it wise to take a bath before entering the deity's room. He then opened the temple door. धड़ार आंचल तले पाइलो से एक शेर स्थान लेपि क्षीर लइया होइलो बाहिर. According to the deity's directions, the priest found the pot of sweet rice behind the cloth curtain. He removed the pot and mopped up the place where it had been kept. He then went out of the temple. द्वार दिया ग्रामे गेला से क्षीर लइया हाटे हाटे बुले माधव पुरी के चाहिया. Closing the door of the temple, he went to the village with the pot of sweet rice. He called out in every stall in search of Madhavendra Puri. क्षीर लहो ei जार नाम माधव पुरी तोमा लागी गोपीनाथ क्षीर खइलो चुरी. Holding the pot of sweet rice, the priest called, Will he whose name is Madhavendra Puri please come and take this pot? Gopinath has stolen this pot of sweet rice for you. Purport. The difference between the absolute truth and relative truth is explained here. Wow. Lord Gopinath has openly declared herein that he is a thief. He had stolen the pot of sweet rice, and this was not kept a secret because his act of stealing is a source of great transcendental bliss. In the material world, theft is criminal, but in the spiritual world, the Lord's stealing is a source of transcendental bliss. Mundane rascals who cannot understand the absolute nature of the personality of Godhead sometimes call Lord Sri Krishna immoral, but they do not know that his seemingly immoral activities, which are not kept secret, afford pleasure to the devotees. Not understanding the transcendental behavior of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, these rascals slur his character and immediately fall into the category of miscreants. Rascals, lowest among men, demons, and those whose knowledge is taken away by the illusory energy. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Namam dushkritino mudhaah prapadyante naradhamaah mayayapahritagnyana asuram bhavamashritah. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender it unto me. Bhagavad Gita 7:15. Mundane rascals cannot understand that whatever Krishna does, being absolute in nature, is all good. This quality of the Lord is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-29. One may consider certain acts of a supremely powerful person to be immoral by mundane calculations, but this is not actually the case. For example, the sun absorbs water from the surface of the earth, but it does not absorb water only from the sea. It also absorbs water from filthy sewers and ditches containing urine and other impure substances. The sun is not polluted by absorbing such water. Rather, the sun makes the filthy place pure. If a devotee approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead for an immoral or improper purpose, he nonetheless becomes purified. The Lord does not become infected. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29-15, it is stated that if one approaches the Supreme Lord even out of lust, anger, or fear, kamam, krodham, bhayam, he is purified. The gopis, being young girls, approached Krishna because he was a beautiful young boy. From the external point of view, they approached the Lord out of lust, and the Lord danced with them at midnight. From the mundane point of view, these activities may appear immoral because a married or unmarried young girl cannot leave home to mix with a young boy and dance with him. Although this is immoral from the mundane viewpoint, the activities of the gopis are accepted as the highest form of worship because it was Lord Krishna whom they approached with lusty desires in the dead of night. But these things cannot be understood by non devotees. One must understand Krishna in truth, in tattva. One should use his common sense and consider that if simply by chanting Krishna's holy name one is purified, how then can the person Krishna be immoral? Unfortunately, mundane fools are accepted as educational leaders and are offered exalted posts for teaching irreligious principles to the general populace. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.31. Andha yathandhaya rupaniyamana. Blind men are trying to lead other blind men. Due to the immature understanding of such rascals, common men should not discuss Krishna's pastimes with the gopis. A non devotee should not even discuss his stealing sweet rice for his devotees. It is warned that one should not even think about these things. Although Krishna is the purest of the pure, mundane people thinking of Krishna's pastimes that appear immoral themselves become polluted. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore never publicly discussed Krishna's dealings with the gopis. He used to discuss these dealings only with three confidential friends. He never discussed Raslila publicly as the professional reciters do, although they do not understand Krishna or the nature of the audience. However, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu encouraged the public chanting of the holy name on a huge scale for as many hours as possible. See how much big purport is there just for this verse. And it is important because Krishna does not accept anything without devotion. When we offer with devotion, and that too with a tulsi leaf on top, that is when Krishna will accept. When it is offered through the pure devotee, not even because of our devotion, because we are offering every day to the deity. Do you think the deity is actually taking, Krishna is taking because of our devotion? No. We are chanting the Guru's mantra. Through the spiritual master, we are requesting the spiritual master to offer to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna, and we are putting tulsi leaf. Because of their presence, because of their mercy, Krishna is accepting. And that's another argument actually. When people say, oh, we are taking Ritvik initiation even though Prabhupada is not here and we are taking initiation from him, then you are offering to Krishna also when Prabhupada is not here with the mantra. How? That time the connection is there, now not there. No, that he accepted us as devotees when he was here. After that, it's a connection is eternal. But he has to be here to accept. Why? He checked you, is it? He checked whether you were following everything properly when he accepted you. Most of the cases, no. He did not check. The temple president recommended, he just gave. Sundar Gopal Prabhu, first class example. Sundar Gopal Prabhu did not even know what initiation was. And he was offered this chance. And he said yes, and then Prabhupada initiated from Kumbh Mela. And then name was sent, beads were sent. So, I mean, so by chanting of the mantra, we are actually invoking his blessings to offer to Krishna. So anyway, the point here, coming back to the actual point, that the Lord can be offered only with devotion, that too following, based on the devotion of our Guru and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna and Tulsi, not even because of our devotion. Imagine God, Krishna coming and actually stealing the butter from the gopis' home. They are not actually offering. Krishna is coming and stealing. But actually they were offering. Because they were actually doing all that butter. In fact, they would hope that Krishna would come and steal, and they wanted to actually see those pastimes that Krishna, like a thief, him stealing. For that reason, they would do very nice, flavorful butter. How flavorful butter? They will offer the cow very flavorful grass, and then the cow eats and then produces milk which is flavorful, and with that milk they would use to make butter. So Yashoda Maya, when she came to know, when she was being complained so much by the neighbors that, oh, your son is coming and stealing, she wanted to give all kinds of flavorful grasses to the cows so that she can make such attractive butter that he will not go to any other house to steal, only in my house he will eat. So in that way, and even the gopis that were complaining to Yashoda, they were not angry. Externally, yes, angry, but actually they were blissful that Krishna was coming and stealing from their house. They were fortunate. I mean, if somebody announces, "Hey, Krishna stole this pot for you," I mean, you'll be elated. Krishna stole this for me. So it is being announced here. Oh, Gopinath stole this, but that is a sign of great fortune. Gopinath stole this. If Krishna steals something away from me, sometimes, like when Prabhupada's business was gone, yeah, Krishna stole it away. Um, he took it as a great blessing. Oh, Krishna took away from me. Oh, that's good. He has taken away, and so that I can now fully surrender. So um, we should never um, think that Krishna is being unfair to me or something like that. No, Krishna has his reasons why he does things. Mm. We should always accept Krishna's mercy as Krishna's mercy, no matter how it appears externally. What is the time? Oh, almost 10 o'clock. Mm. क्षीरलय सुखे तुम करह भक्षणे तोमा सम भाग्यवान नाहि त्रिभुवने. The priest continued, "Would the sannyasi whose name is Mādhavendra Purī please come and take this pot of sweet rice and enjoy the prasadam with great happiness? You are the most fortunate person within these three worlds." Purport: here is an example of a personal benediction by Krishna's immoral activity. See? Personal benediction by Krishna's immoral activity. By Gopinath stealing for his devotee, the devotee becomes the most fortunate person within the three worlds. Thus, even the Lord's criminal activities make his devotee the most fortunate person. How can a mundane rascal understand the pastimes of Krishna and judge whether he is moral or immoral? See how many times he's using the word rascal to these people. Since Krishna is the absolute truth, there are no mundane distinctions such as moral and immoral. Whatever he does is good. And this is the real meaning of God is good. He is good in all circumstances because he is transcendental, outside the jurisdiction of this material world. Therefore, Krishna can be understood only by those who are already living in the spiritual world. This is corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita 14:26. Mam chayovyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. See? One who is engaged in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord is already situated in the spiritual world. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. In all circumstances, his activities and dealings with Krishna are transcendental and thus not understandable by mundane moralists. It is therefore better not to discuss such activities among mundane people. It is better to give them the Hare Krishna Mahamantra so that they will be gradually purified and then come to understand the transcendental activities of Krishna. So I think I will stop it here and continue in the next session. IRM head Krishnakant, yeah, he wasn't officially initiated. Graha Prayeshu Ashrameshu, spiritual hermitages will be no different from mundane houses. Twenty-two 136. What is 22 136? Sri Vishnu Sravani Parikshit. Yeah. So each acharya exemplifies one of the Navada Bhakti, but Ambarish Maharaj did all 9 of them. But actually, as sadhana bhaktas, sadhakas, we have to engage in all 9, at least 7, 8 to an extent. And the 9th one will come eventually, Atma Nivedana. Okay, so I think we will end this here. Thank you very much. चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय, माधवेंद्र पुरी की जय, श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्ण।